Christopher Nolan's tour de force and crowning achievement, Oppenheimer, is now in theaters, with some calling it his best movie to date and one of the greatest cinematic masterpieces put to film. So we're covering Barbie today here on Breaking Geek Radio.
Hello and welcome to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the premier flagship and international podcast of LRM Online. But somehow we're just Korea and the United States today. We had a breakdown of communication and staff work. So we're here with Joseph Jammer Medina and Dr. Kirsten Michelle Medina.
Oh my goodness.
Bitch. I screwed it all up. I threw all the things.
We did a whole thing and you forget.
It was a whole thing. My paper's over here and I try to look at the camera. I have to work.
And you're just like, I can't look. I can't look.
Dr. Jammer.
Dr. Jammer. Oh yeah,
that's Danny's contribution.
Yeah, Danny used to call you Mrs. Jammer for the longest time, and you're like, that's Dr. Mrs. Jammer. So that's what he calls you now, is Dr. Mrs. Jammer.
So yeah, you're like,
I did not go to 6 years of grad school for him to call me Mrs.
Mm-hmm. I still think that's one of Austin Powers' best jokes.
Multipass. Is it?
Y'all remember that joke?
No.
I think so. Where the guy they're at the therapy session. I think it's the therapy session. No, it's somewhere else. Wherever it is, he's like Mr. Evil, and he's like, Dr. Evil. I didn't go to 6 years of evil medical school to be called Mr. Thank you very much. So good.
That is lost in the annals. I do not remember that at all.
Yeah.
What I do remember? I remember Barbie. But before we check in on Barbie, let's talk about the WGA SAG-AFTRA chat discussion with the studios. So last week, was it last week? I guess it was last week. My time means nothing. We were having a discussion about the strike, right? We've got a 2-for-1 strike with the actors striking and the writers striking at the same time. And at the end of the podcast, we were having a discussion about whether or not we should do that ourselves. Like, right, what could we do? What are we willing to do to support the actors and the writers? Jammer was willing to do surprisingly little. He was like, I don't know. Fortunately, Adam Ruins Everything, Adam Conover, jumped in to save Jammer from his selfishness. So Tweeter,
I almost had to give something up. I have to say this. Kirsten and I were watching something. I was like, Kirsten, I don't know if this is time for this, but I've been thinking about maybe giving up streaming services as with the strike, if that's something
like
that
now,
can be helped.
While we're in the middle of this, you want to stop?
Well, the funny thing is, we can't even give up half of them because we totally legally pay for them, but other people use them too. And then I was just like, literally HBO. We could get rid of HBO. We haven't watched HBO. I'm the only one that watches HBO because I watch Big Bang Theory.
I like having it there. I like having HBO. I like having it in case I want to go get it. In case we decide to get back into Harley Quinn, because we still need to finish Harley Quinn season 3.
No. So there's a new season. The trailer just dropped for season 4. Of Harley Quinn. Looks interesting. I'm gonna watch season 3 of Superman. That's what I'm gonna watch. Superman and Lois and Superman. One of those.
Yep, Superman and Lois.
But Jammer Ruins Everything. So Adam jumped in to help out a tweeter who asked him a genuine question. Hey, I have a hard time morally resolving whether or not I should skip seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer this week. SAG-AFTRA in SAG-AFTRA solidarity. Thoughts? Adam said, neither the WGA or SAG-AFTRA is calling for a consumer boycott right now. If you want to support the strike, we are asking folks to boost our message on social media, donate to the Entertainment Community Fund, which supports affected workers. And he includes a link. So if you would like to include some donations for that, go ahead and find Adam Conover's tweet. But Jammer, since we started with you in that discussion last week, how do you feel about that? Are you relieved?
Well, because I don't mind. I can give up something for a while. I just want to make sure I'm not just like doing it needlessly. Like I want there to be a purpose behind it, and I also don't have enough time to try and mobilize people to give something up. So I'm like, I don't want to. I don't know how to be effective. I don't have time to be effective. So I need someone to tell me. So I'm glad that Adam Conover is there to tell me if I should be effective and when to be effective. And it sounds like I don't need to be effective, so it's okay.
Jammer was actually elected to read, not lead. So yeah,
that's right. And for once, Adam didn't ruin anything.
That's right.
It's funny. You're talking about suffering. Do you guys remember 500 Days of Summer? There's that they do that cut to a French film, like the short independent French film, like suffering, so much suffering. No, nobody remembers that. 500
I watched the movie once and I was like, this movie sucks. Why do people like it? And then I moved on.
Ouch.
Well, I think I also thought it was going to be a comedy and it wasn't. So
it's hilarious though. It's so funny.
I didn't think it was funny. I did not.
It's so funny. Who hurt you, Jammer? Was it Kirsten?
You're looking
Michelle?
at her. Yeah.
Kirsten, what do you think of the fact that you don't have to drop any of your beloved shows to support SAG-AFTRA?
I had a lot less strong feelings about it, but I'm just glad he clarified, because I do think like there gets to that point of like, how do you boycott something without hurting the other half too, of like the writers and the actors also benefit from these things. So I'm just glad he clarified, but I do not have as strong as feelings as Jammer.
I think I was a little worried about it, and it's a little bit of an interesting conundrum to be in, but I guess Manny had kind of a prescient conversation about this. That word's just on my mind today.
You were using
with Kyle
twice.
about
What
it.
the hell's wrong with you?
I don't know what's wrong.
So
I think it's because I used it once.
SAT
I have to use
book?
it twice. I don't know what it is. So on Daily Cup of Genre, if you want to hear him and Kyle Malone wrap it up talking about SAG-AFTRA, I think it was last week or the week before, he actually had the exact same thought as Adam. So good on him. Manny not ruining things either. Anyway, since we don't have very strong feelings about that, you guys ready to move on to Barbie? Who wants to be a Barbie girl? Who wants to live in a Barbie world?
I don't. That world looks boring.
What? It's plastic. It's fantastic.
It's fantastic. You can't go in the ocean.
That's true. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. You can. You just can't swim. Anyway, here we go. Barbie and Ken are having the time of their lives in the colorful and seemingly perfect world of Barbie Land. However, when they get a chance to go to the real world, they soon discover the joys and perils of living among humans. Directed by Greta Gerwig and starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, as of the recording of this podcast, Barbie has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 89 from the critics and a 90 from the audience. Do we agree? I don't know. Let's find out. Jammer, are we still threading? Are we threading? Are we tweeting? Are we
sure,
tweeting?
We're not tweeting. Not tweeting
not
these
tweeting.
days. Why would I tweet ever?
Fuck that. Actually, you know what I heard? You know what I heard that made me very excited? I think they said it was like 20 billion. That platform is worth $20 billion less than when he bought it. Or words to that
it's half.
Something like that.
Man, that is satisfying.
He's torpedoed it so hard. But he's been, I don't know, he's very self-destructive. He does, whatever. Anyway.
Not self-destructive enough. Sorry.
Not self-destructive enough. I don't what? Did I miss something? I think I missed something.
He hasn't blown himself up yet.
Is that what it was? What are you talking about? Okay.
What?
Anyways, as far as my thread for Barbie, I would say a very, what is the word I'm looking for? Message heavy film, a surprisingly message heavy film, that is a little bit sloppy with its narrative, but never not entertaining. And it makes me celebrate a world where really weird movies that don't look like giant CG fests can succeed.
Lots of ellipses in this thread. All right, Kirsten, what do you think? Give us your thread. And by thread, we mean like your.
I was like, no one told me to prepare this.
I was gonna say, I don't know.
I never prepare it. So, Kirsten, you're gonna need to do a thread on Barbie. So go ahead and think about one.
Let's see. I thought it was. I don't know how to say it either. It was just a movie that it was like, should we take this step to make it a little bit weirder? And then they were like, yeah, let's take 7 steps that direction. So I thought it was absolutely amazing and hilarious. And yes, surprisingly heavy and emotional to the point of being a little sloppy, but not in a way that I cared. I still loved it.
I will say there was definitely a moment. We had to We had to go to the AMC in order to see this movie instead of the Alamo Draft House.
I see.
Because the Alamo Draft House, they had a time at 3 p.m. and then a time at 9:45 p.m.
Two showings the entire day.
I'm like, it's a goddamn weekday, sirs. What is happening?
Barbie at 10 p.m.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it was weird. And clearly, they don't have a lot of theaters there, so they were clearly like cleaning it out for Oppenheimer because of the audience. But we had to go to the lowly masses of AMC theaters where I thought maybe it'd be better since the last time I went, which is when I saw The Kingsman. It was not better. It was awful. The theater was so loud and everyone was talking constant. I was like, oh my God, is this what it's like? Is this what it's normally like? I'm not used to this. And anyways, these girls next to us, they were like probably tweens or something. I don't know. But they were like, at one part of the movie, one of them was like, what is happening? Is this real? During one of like the weird scenes in the movie. So anyway,
that's great. That's awesome. So I'm sorry, Kirsten, was that the end of your thread? Are you done threading?
Yeah, totes.
Yes. Okay. So for my thread, I didn't know exactly what I'd be getting with the Barbie movie. I just know that I like Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. It's funny that Barbie styles itself as Paradise Lost because what they were able to pull off with this story, with all these disparate parts and all this stuff, is nothing short of a miracle. So, before we get into spoilers, Jammer, what is your letter grade for this film?
I think I'm going to give it a B+. It's really solid. I think there's a lot of narrative shortcomings to it that made it a little bit not as emotional as it could have been. They had a lot of pieces there that they set up that I don't think they paid off as well. So we could talk a bit more about that later. But overall, like I said, it's never not entertaining. So that's a huge plus for me. I definitely want to watch it again. And I thought it was hilarious when I saw the credits for the writers, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, and I was just like,
"That's your letter grade."
B+. B+.
Okay, thank you.
I already said it. B+.
I know. And it just kept going. Yeah, Kirsten.
Sorry.
Letter grade, please.
Is there something between an A- and a B+? I'm gonna say A- just to be different. But I really liked it.
Okay. And I'm gonna come in there and just samey. B+.
B+.
I think it's a B+. B+. All right.
But
so what?
Go ahead. Do your hosting.
Jumping into spoilers on Barbie, Jammer, you seem to have a lot to say about this film. Why don't you go first?
I remember I saw an article pop up on my phone a while ago, probably 2 weeks ago, where they said basically that the right has declared war on Barbie. And I was like, everyone chill out. It's a stupid, silly movie. Da 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 da. As we were watching it, I was like, oh no. They have a right to declare war on this movie. This movie is literally declaring war. Yeah, the
movie declared war first.
Yeah, the movie shot first. So the movie is Han in this case.
Which
it's
Han?
They don't pull the first one. They don't pull any punches. They attack preemptively and literally poke and prod every potential trigger that a conservative in America today would have regarding anything remotely political.
Is a Snyderverse person considered conservative, or are they just like weird?
I think there's a demographic, I would say, of
it's like a Venn
socially awkward white bearded men who tend to support Zack Snyder.
Oh, I hate Snyderverse. Like the
I know
whole
you
damn
do.
thing
I know
to
you
be
do.
burned to the ground.
Hashtag
there.
not all bearded white men.
Not all bearded white men.
See,
but like
Jammer, this is your perfect opportunity to reply. Hit dog holler. What?
You can only set them up so much, Jonesy. You can only set them up so much.
I was just waiting because
I had not even heard that expression until you said it that one time. So how can I possibly use it? Come on.
It should have been tucked away for forever.
I'm not that witty. Not that witty.
Obviously.
That's true.
Yes. Hit dog holler. Definitely up there in like the.
Maybe next time. Maybe
pull
next
that
time.
one down from the top of the
No, but
bookshelf.
seriously, I think he has a very specific, like the comic book nerd. That the sort of demographic, that the stereotypical demographic, I feel like is the type of person who would be like all about the Snyder Cut. Granted, I'm also all about the Snyder Cut, so it's we're a people, not a race. So,
but I feel like there's also there's a difference between I was really excited for the Snyder Cut and I was tweeting up a storm and being very aggressive.
There's a reason why I literally I always say this says a lot about me, where literally I have to just until I blocked them, all of the hashtags that were for me were like release the Snyder Cut and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Still today, or still a few weeks ago when I finally blocked them. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted your question about the Snyder thing comment.
No, that's fine. Talking bad about Kyle, I get it. So you were supposed to be telling me some other things that you didn't like about it or didn't work, or you had pregnant pauses or something. What's your thing?
I did. So this movie introduced a lot of things and it didn't follow them up as well. So I told Kirsten after the movie, I felt like this was kind of a mix of Elf meets the Lego movie, meets its own thing.
I was going to say very Will Ferrell heavy in your comparison there.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the middle of the movie, I was just like, what if Will Ferrell is Lord Business in this movie? But he wasn't. But that definitely did cross my mind.
But wasn't he? How wasn't he?
No. Lord Business was...
He barely played a role.
Yeah. He was just...
Which I actually appreciated.
Anyway, my point is that they... what was my point? Okay. So yeah, they plant a lot of... So you know how in Elf you have the little boy characters of the father and his little boy. What are you doing? What are you shaking your head for?
The beginning of your sentence was, how in Elf. And
you never watched Elf?
I've probably seen it once.
What?
Okay. Well, there is a they set up this relationship between the younger kid and Elf, and it's about the dad. And I kind of felt like there was an opportunity to kind of bring that similar emotionality with America Ferrera and her daughter. And they kind of set it up. But then after they play an important role for like 5 to 10 minutes, they kind of just fade into the background of everything else because there are so many overlapping characters and overlapping pieces that they don't really pay off a lot of separate subplots. There's even a large chunk of the movie where Barbie's hardly even there. And then everyone almost has to step aside. I'm like, oh yeah, this is Barbie movie. This is about her movie. So there's just a lot of moving pieces for it doesn't emotionally wrap up in a way that I think works completely, considering all of the different threads that they planted. And that includes the kid and the mom. That includes the businessmen who seem like they're going to be important and then disappear, or the guy who brings it to the attention who seems like he's going to be important and then kind of disappears and is just following along. And then some of the stuff with some of the Kens that seems like it's going to be important, but it kind of isn't. But at the same time, it comes together really satisfyingly and funny and weird, and it's never, again, never not entertaining. That is my slogan for this episode.
Okay.
I personally love... I have a thought to say about the whole men.
Let's hear it.
The businessmen not being important, because especially given what the movie is about, I love that they introduced this giant group of powerful men in business suits that you think are going to play this giant role, and then they do nothing, and they mean nothing, and it doesn't matter. And I love that, because I feel like if that was not done on purpose, damn, because I hope it was done on purpose, because it was hilarious.
Like it was. I mean, they literally at the end of the movie, after everything happened with the Kens and the Barbies, they come out of, was it the treehouse or some other door? It's I feel like that was oh no, they purposely tuck these guys in a corner to do nothing.
Yeah.
So
they're you're not important here. You don't matter.
Yeah. Somebody said weird. I wrote a note while I was watching this movie. It is fucking ridiculous. And I remember the moment when I was like, this movie feels off the rails ridiculous, but in a fun way. And that was when the Kens were fighting, and it was a slow motion fight that built into a West Side Story dance off to them holding hands. And I was like, yep, I'm in for this. I'm like so excited about this. And
it was literally that transition into that fight where I thought the same thing. I was like, they just kept going. They went deeper. They went whatever. They went like an Inception. They just went into another layer of the dream.
Yeah, I really loved just like how willing the director was willing. She was just like, whatever, we're just gonna do whatever. And I was kind of curious, you guys can tell me, am I reading too much into this? The way they kept talking about, where the kids were like, let me explain. And so they had the scene from The Godfather, and he was like, let me explain it to you. The beginning of this movie is from 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I feel like that is a very deep cut nerd incel movie. And I swear to God,
are they expecting all the boyfriends to go over to their girlfriends and be like, do you know what this is from?
I know this. I get that reference. Baby, this is, and then like later on in the movie, there are a bunch of dudes like, let me explain. And I want to know how many people did that trap close on? Like, 3/4 of the way during the movie. I please, I hope that was done on purpose.
That makes me so happy too.
I was so locked in from that scene because I'm that guy, but I was able to like keep it inside. I didn't have to say I know that reference, but yeah, from the beginning of that movie, like when that scene happened, I was like, I'm really locked in to the vision for this film and then how weird it got. I famously do not like children. And was her name Sasha? Was Sasha the name of the daughter?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was like, who are you talking about? I have no idea.
I think it's Sasha. Whatever.
Let's go with Sasha. I was not like, man, that was a rough few minutes.
Out of here. What? Yeah, when she went to the school?
Yeah, when she went to the school, that was a rough few minutes when Barbie went to meet her and talk to her, and I was just, I can't do this. I was like Barbie's anger translator. I was like, fuck this kid. And then eventually they were able to pull it back. So I get what you're saying. Like there wasn't a moment between the two of them, but I do feel like they did seed in like the little stuff, like the song, and then the moments together, like her watching her mother become a leader. I think those things worked for me, right? To do the thing I think you're talking about, because ultimately the movie's called Barbie. I was okay with her only having those moments, right? Like she existed for the purpose of bringing that out of Barbie, but she had her own side story.
They did have that moment when they were in the car about to leave, and the daughter was like, "No, we have to go back and change and save
Kirsten,
things." Like
it didn't make me cry, so it doesn't work as effectively. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna cry."
I'll punch you in the balls during that scene,
and I didn't cry. I didn't cry, Kirsten. It did not pass the first 5 minutes of up test.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt that moment where, like, as they're singing the song together, and like Kirsten just said, the daughter was like, "No, we have to go back." She's like, "But you hate Barbie." She's like, "But you don't." And so the thing that matters to her mom matters to her now, and everything that flowed after that kind of worked for me to like fill in for that thing. Because again, the movie's not about them.
Sure. Yeah.
That's just me.
How about that cast? That cast is great in the movie. They had so many people throughout this movie, and I shouldn't be proud, but I am proud anyway. We're literally I didn't know Kate McKinnon was in this movie, but the second they were just like weird Barbie, I'm like, that's definitely going to be Kate McKinnon. That's definitely. And I imagined what her face would be doing throughout most of the scenes, and it did exactly that. And she did not disappoint. She delivered exactly on what I expected when they said weird Barbie.
Why is she always in the splits?
Why is she always in the splits?
I don't know if y'all both had sisters, but that was a thing. That weird Barbie is always in the splits.
Always in the splits. I don't know. Mine were not mine, but like my cousins, they were always naked. Not necessarily in the splits, but just definitely always naked. Just like
always mid-dress.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How did you like that?
Yeah.
How did you like that part where literally she says to the construction workers, "I don't even have a vagina," and he doesn't have a penis? I was just like, oh, they just went there.
No. I think she said genitalia, and he was like, "I have all the genitalia," or something like that.
Say
like
that
was his comment. Yeah. I really enjoyed. To what?
No. Do your thing. Sorry, I get really excited about this movie. apparently.
No, what do you want to transition to? From penis to what?
No, it was mostly into Ken specifically because he's the one who said the thing. Because we could talk about Ken and his role in the movie, but I want to hear what you liked about this movie first.
I was going to mention him. So you mentioned the cast. I was going to say like I liked. It was shocking to me that they were able to get such big stars to play like these side Kens. But he didn't steal the movie, but sure as fuck Ryan Gosling did try, right? Like there was something about him where like he was just, I don't know how to describe it. But I loved punchable, but also like as soon as he gets to the real world, I was like, I don't think this is gonna go well for them. And like they did such a good job of seeding in this idea. Like once she's in the real world, she's like, I don't like this. There's a hint of violence to like everyone looking at me. And he's like, I feel respected. He's like, there's no violence. And I was like, no. And man, it was so much fun watching them on their opposite journeys. I just enjoyed it. What did you
when he went to Century? He went to Century City and started seeing all like the patriarchy stuff. He's like, oh, this is great. This is fantastic. So funny. And then like, I mean, I didn't expect like as this was happening, I was having that same feeling as you, where I was said, I don't think this is gonna go the way we think. I did not expect going into this movie that Ken would be the main villain, and that all of the Kens would be the main villain, and that literally this movie would just be about freaking bros taking over Barbie land. It's just so weird. It is so weird, but so funny and satisfying. And it's funny, like I was just like partway through the movie, I was like, where is this going? I don't know where this is going, and I am here for the journey.
Guys.
So funny.
The bad guy was really the patriarchy.
Yes, the patriarchy.
I really respect that idea, right? Because it didn't have to come down to like, I mean, it did turn into a fight, but it didn't have to be like the Kens have to go and the Barbies have to say it didn't become that. And I respected the idea that they could come to some agreement about who they were without having to fall in love again or any, like it was such a good, well-written ending for their characters. Where they're just like, no, we just need to figure out who we are without necessarily each other. And it doesn't have to be like we fall in love or anything like that. And I was like, I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to make a lot of people angry, I think, with this, but I really appreciated the end was not well, now the Kens and the Barbies run Barbie Land 50-50 and everything is equal. I really liked that it was just like, no, we're going to make this realistic to what actually happened, gender swapped in real world of like, oh, you have some power now. Oh, not that much. Calm down. Like back up.
It's like, yeah. What do you say? Can we have a Supreme Court justice? Like, well, about lower circuit court.
You can have a lower court. You can have a lower court, and eventually maybe you'll be able to get as much power as women do in the real world.
The right wing, I just heard screaming in the ether.
Did you guys, so there was this big controversy that happened when this movie came out about the 9- line. You guys know what that is?
No.
Kyle, do you know what this is?
The map thing.
Yes. Okay. So there's this big controversy. This film was not released, it was boycotted in Vietnam. And that's because there is this 9- line that China draws in the South China Sea to say, we own all of this. And if you look at the map, it's like Asia, and there is a line suspiciously like the 9- line. There are 8 of them in the movie. And Vietnam's like, fuck that. We're going to boycott this. And it's kind of an interesting thing. I did not get a chance to see if China had anything to do with the financing of this movie, but that would have been fascinating. Because like I remember with Top Gun, that was a big deal. They took the Taiwanese patch off of Maverick's jacket because that's one of the missions that his father flew. And Tencent, who's a Chinese company, is heavily involved in financing that film. Anyway, just an interesting aside. I was curious if you guys noticed it or cared, paid attention. No. Okay. What else do you guys have to say about this? Anything? I feel like comedies are really hard to talk about sometimes.
I mean, there was luckily a lot to talk about in terms of the messaging. I think the messaging was really funny. They really went for it. They did not. Well, I mean, it's about the patriarchy and how toxic it is, and how frankly unfair it is. Period. And
deprogramming.
It's a lot. It's variations of that. Yeah. Oh yeah, the deprogramming of how women are made to. They're conditioned to act and feel a certain way in our society, and how that works. It's just there's just so much there, and I'm just impressed that they went for it as hard as they did. That they unabashedly, like, I would have thought given the I don't know what the budget of this movie was, but given how much they clearly wanted to make off of this movie, as any studio does, I was surprised they let them be as frankly polarizing as this movie kind of deserves to be.
$145 million.
145 million. That seems expensive, considering.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense though, because I do like that they really. It's a reminder of like Barbie was and is kind of that, like, hey, girls don't need to be moms. Girls can be doctors and astronauts, and like Barbie has always been a massive feminist property. So it was kind of also nice
problematic.
But also problematic, which I think they did a really good job of being like, no, you make women feel bad about their bodies. It's like, but I'm trying to say you could be president.
Yeah.
I love this scene.
So I don't know if I have anything else to add about that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
There was that one joke that just like made me laugh out loud about the cellulite, where she said something like, you can have the stiletto or you can have the Birkenstock. She was like, the first one, stiletto. She's like, no, you're supposed to want. She's like, no, I don't care. I want that. She's like, fine, get cellulite. I don't care.
And speaking of the Birkenstocks, like, the end, just the last line. I'm here to see my gynecologist. That was hilarious. I love that they ended with that, of all things.
Great final line.
I don't know if that joke worked for me.
Why not
for me? Like, I think it was built up too much.
That was the point, is that you think it's going to be this huge life-changing moment, but literally it's just, I have
real being a woman. Like, I have to be a woman now. Crap.
I don't know. I'm not a writer. I don't know what I would have done different.
What would you have had her say instead? I'm here to start my 9-to-5 job here at Mattel.
No, that's clearly what they were setting you up for, right?
Yeah.
So I knew it wasn't going to be that. I don't know what I would have done different. I just know that didn't. I was like, for something that was making me feel like this, that kind of left me on a plateau right at the end. I was like, yeah, well, that is a way to end it. But I thought that this movie had some really, really good lines. You're talking about messaging. There were 3 lines that stuck out to me. There was one where she said, you can't make the world perfect, but you can make it better. Kirsten, you brought up the brainwashing. There was one that said, you're either brainwashed or weird. There's no in between. And then I like the one that I
weird and ugly.
Loved. Yeah, weird and ugly. Yeah. The line that I absolutely love that I will probably take away from this movie was, mothers stand still so daughters can see how far they've come. That was probably my absolute favorite line from this movie. I love that. So to the point of having like this really raucous comedy that just went all over the place, was completely weird. They definitely went forward in having a message. And just some of the dialogue they were able to come up with was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed it. Yeah, go see this.
Last thing I will say is that I told Kirsten this morning or yesterday, I don't remember, where Margot Robbie, when she pitched it to the studio, she basically said, this could be $1 billion movie. In an interview, she was just like, I may have oversold it, but we're just trying to get a movie made. I really hope this movie makes $1 billion. I don't think it will, but that'd be pretty awesome if it did. And I also know that Margot Robbie is kind of overdue for a financial success. So fingers crossed that this one makes it, because it took risks. It kind of went there. And I think we should reward movies that take risks.
Yeah.
I'm saying that about a Barbie movie. What's wrong with me? That's so weird.
Crazy.
That was so good. I loved it. I legitimately teared up at the end a little bit. I thought it was amazing. Everyone should see Barbie.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And also, we should add horses to the patriarchy.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
We should.
If you guys want to jump out of spoilers, I do have one question for you that is related, but not a spoiler.
Sure.
Okay. So Hasbro has tried to make a couple of movies. They made some. I don't know if I think they were as good as this. Mattel has some properties out there. What, if anything, would you like to see Mattel tackle next?
Mattel toys. I have to look up
like,
Mattel toys.
What
first of all.
properties does Mattel
So like we're talking like He-Man or Polly Pocket or
Polly Pocket.
Polly Pocket would be great. Actually, I feel like Polly Pocket would be a natural sequel to this. Like they can transition into the Polly Pocket world.
So you know which one I wanted? So I wanted a Mighty Max Polly Pocket crossover. That was one of the ones I wanted, and then I had another one. Oh, Hot Wheels, because I think Fast and Furious needs some competition.
Hot Wheels leading the way. Yeah. Apparently, I know all the 90s slogans. That's just what I do.
Leading the way? That's the Hot Wheels thing?
Hot Wheels leading the way. I think so.
Did you just make that up? Was it?
Sounds familiar.
No one can fact check him, so.
Leading the way, that's just a military thing, Kai. What do you mean it sounds familiar? Yes, it sounds familiar.
That's true. Yes. That's very true.
Hold on. Now I'm just looking at Hot Wheels leading the way.
It would have auto-completed if it was correct.
It would have I spelled hot well. Right. You know I know, right? But oh my god. Yeah, leading the way.
Really?
Yes.
Crazy. Weird. Anyway. Kirsten, are there any properties that you would like to see Mattel make into films? Just think like something as weird.
Polly Pocket's when you said that one, that was the only one that came to mind.
Okay.
I loved Polly Pocket, so I would be down for that. And I feel like you could do some weird things with the fact that Polly Pocket was in those little containers.
You can do an Uno movie.
Just like families gunning each other down over this card.
Maybe, or it's about the innards of the making of Uno, and it's like the cards are personified in some way, and this is the way they live life. I don't know why or how, but maybe there's something there. Maybe there's one card who's always skipped and feels sad.
You know who the biggest asshole in the Uno world would have to be is like the draw 4 wild card.
Oh yeah.
Like fuck you. I hate you.
He's a narcissist.
Yeah, you think you're the shit, don't you?
He's the Andrew Tate of cards.
He's got like 6-pack abs. Just like fucking hate you. Anyway. Moving on.
I wish I knew Mattel more.
What she knew? He-Man. Isn't He-Man Mattel?
Yeah, but they're already doing lots of He-Man. I'm not gonna be like, oh, we've been really needing a He-Man property for the longest time. They've been doing it for the past 20 years.
Have they? I mean, but not to any success, right? So they've done the Netflix one, which
I didn't watch them. I'm saying they exist, like between She-Ra and the Masters of the Universe series, and I think there's
my point.
One more.
What's going to get Joseph Jammer Medina to sit his ass down and watch a He-Man movie? That's my point.
I would not want to. I don't think I naturally want to. I am not predisposed to watching He-Man. It just is not my jam.
Okay.
They have
that's fine.
They have Monsters High, which had like a DVD movie or something, didn't it?
What's Monsters High? Is that like
it's like creepy Barbies, essentially, like monster Barbies.
High.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, well, I could see. I feel like that would be a direct to streaming CG movie.
I think it was something. I think it was I think they actually did a live action. I'm trying to look it up now. Monsters High.
Oh, it's Monster High.
Monster High. Yeah. They did Monster High the movie to 2022. Jeez.
Live action?
Last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
On what?
What did it get released on? Live action musical fantasy film, and it was on Paramount Plus. So yeah,
it was Kirsten. We can watch it.
Watch it.
And watch it. So exciting! It looks like
on a hot streak.
I'm looking at a picture right now. It almost looks like that Disney Channel movie, The Descendants, or something like that. which is something I still kind of want to watch.
I thought it was a
You never seen it?
No. Do I look like I have a child? We don't have a child.
We have 3 children. Thank you. All of us.
We don't have children that would like Descendant. We would not have a kid that would want to watch The Descendants.
Speaking of who watches things, you guys want to talk about some who watches?
Let's talk who watches. What have we been who watching?
Is there a little intro for this? I don't remember. Anyway,
no,
it's been a while since we've done this. There's never been an intro. We should come up with it.
It's because apparently we got to be prepared each week because as long as the strike is going on, there's not going to be any news. So maybe we want to feel like, let me talk 5 minutes about this show that we've been watching.
We could talk for 5 minutes about ghosts.
Yes, we could talk about ghosts.
So Kirsten, what have you been watching?
I've been watching Ghosts.
Start the clock.
So, CBS show on Paramount Plus. It is about a couple who moves into a house and it is haunted. And the premise is the girl ends up having a near-death experience and can now see the ghosts. It's just hilarious. It's a comedy, and the ghosts, there's all different kinds of ghosts. So there's like a Native American ghost. There's a Revolutionary War Viking, random Boy Scout leader, troop leader. But yeah, I love it so much. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show, and it's surprisingly, there's a lot of ground they can cover. It stars, what's her name?
Rose McIver.
What's her name? Yeah, Rose McIver from iZombie. If any of you watched iZombie, she was the lead in that. She was also the lead in the Christmas Prince film franchise on Netflix.
Which is actually, there's a whole 2 episodes about how much she loves Christmas movies, and I feel like that was definitely a massive reference to her being in the Christmas Prince.
But she's in that, and so essentially it's very episodic. It's very network TV, as I say. And Kirsten always thinks it's like it kind of is, but it is what the show is. But like they do a really good job of over the course of the series. You know, you get to know the ghosts. You get to know like how they died, why they died. They kind of get closure on some stuff in their life. It's really interesting and kind of heartfelt to watch. So I think it's just overall
there's a murder mystery that we still haven't solved.
No one has moved on yet. They have
side characters have
side characters have moved on, but not any of the main characters yet.
Main ghosts.
None of the main ghosts yet.
Okay. Main ghosts.
But yeah, it's really fun. Like clearly, it's one of those shows that I'm like, oh yeah, they can have 100 episodes of this easily. Old-timey network show, like the type of show where literally going to film school, they were like, you have to make sure this show has this aspect so it could go 100 episodes and it meets this criteria. It really just checks all of those boxes
residuals
in that way. Yeah, kind of residuals, exactly. And yeah, that's pretty much what the show is. So it's very light, very fun. If you for us, it kind of checked the box of like just 30-minute comedy shows after we ran out of what did we watch before this? I know there was Superstore was one of them. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like kind of in that vein of light comedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very fun.
Are you guys doing like a Who Watches together? Is this like Who Watches like
do we watch things separately?
We watch it's funny is if it wasn't for Ghost, I'm trying to think of what else that I have been watching and I can't remember, but I know I have been and I don't remember. So I'll let you go, Jonesy, and then I'll come in after you.
Yes. All right. So I've been watching a couple of things. We'll start with the top of the top. I've been watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I think we're like 5 or 6 episodes into the 2nd season, and I'm really enjoying it. It's not as good as the 1st season, but it's still pretty damned enjoyable. So if you're a Star Trek person, I still think that this is probably the best of the new Trek.
Kirsten has been watching it too.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I'm almost at the end of season 1, and yeah, best new Star
I won't
Trek
say anything.
ever.
I won't say anything. So yeah, between this and Lower Decks, like if you like Star Trek, like get on board right now. So that's a lot of fun.
Does Lower Decks get better?
We watched the first episode or 2 episodes, and it wasn't for us.
I don't remember. Okay, so the easiest way for me to say it is, do you like Rick and Morty?
No.
Then no.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. The other thing I've been watching Secret Invasion. Listen, as somebody who was never really a fan of Captain Marvel, for this to be such a Captain Marvel heavy influence show because of what?
Oh, I thought you were going to spoil something, but you're just talking about. Got it. Continue.
Because of the Skrulls?
Yeah, I thought you were about to say like Captain Marvel's all over this movie, and I was about to say, oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
No. That would probably make it better. So I haven't enjoyed the story, like the acting. I mean, it's got Sam Jackson, right? So it's like top notch. Ben Mendelsohn, Sam Jackson. There are scenes. It's like there's this tension. But I feel like it's weird. We have Khaleesi in this show, and I just can't be bothered to give a fuck. And so it's very weird and kind of depressing. It's just like the narrative, the story, I just don't care about. And I hung on for like 2 episodes. I was like, I'm here for this energy, and then the energy just fell off a cliff. So 1 more episode left. We'll see if they can pull it out, but I'm gonna give a big East-West, probably not. And then Foundation's back, so started watching that. We're about 2 episodes in. Getting to see like Lee Pace's, I don't want to say roided out. He probably worked very hard on that body. But man, that is a fit man. And like watching him like sweatily just beat the shit out of people for like the first 5 minutes of an episode, I was like, I'm kind of here for this.
Hey, we need to watch that show, Joe. Can we watch that show?
She's always had the biggest crush on Lee Pace ever since Pushing Daisies. Was
Pushing Daisies? Oh my god.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I really enjoy him in this show. And he plays like this. So the way this show works is it's a show about future civilization, and this empire has 3 patriarchs. It is brother Dawn, Day, and Dusk. So Lee Pace is always the middle one. And no matter where you are, because this show spans hundreds of years, he's always that middle version, like the middle, not middle age, but like the middle aged version. It's a lot of fun watching this. There's an intergalactic war coming, and he's probably on the side that you shouldn't like. I have a lot of fun watching him in this show, as well as oh god, who's the guy from the Chernobyl movie? I can't think of his name right now.
Chernobyl movie?
Yeah, the beard, the HBO movie. He's got the beard.
Jared Harris?
Teeth. There you go. He's in that. He's in Foundation. He's really good. There are a couple other people in it. I enjoy the show. It's a lot of fun. It's better than Silo. I don't understand why everyone loves Silo.
But everyone seems to love Silo.
I want to watch Foundations, but it's so hard to get Joe to watch anything that's more than 30 minutes.
Yeah,
or that's sci-fi. It's very difficult. I will rephrase that. I mean, I do want to get back to Battlestar Galactica, but I found that I just do not have an affinity to spaceship. I said that weird. Spaceship shows.
Yeah, I was like, take away his geek card because he will not watch any of the sci-fi stuff with me. And
if there are shows where like people in spaceships that are like, we're just following people in spaceships, I'm just like, oh my god, get out of the spaceship. I don't want to be here in the spaceship.
There's a planet. Go to the planet.
There's sun over there. Just go there.
This is the real reason you didn't like Firefly.
I mean, maybe that's part of it. Like, I'm just not Firefly? A spaceship person. I thought it was just garbage.
Kyle, can you boot this dude from the...
Yeah, kick him out.
No, because I'm not a Firefly guy either. So.
Okay, this side of the screen.
I like Whedon's other stuff.
I thought you were about to say I like weed. I was like, okay, thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, but
great contribution.
Not the topic.
And I think that's my big who watches takeaway is I'm kind of in between many different shows right now. Like, we're kind of starting to try to restart some stuff. Like, I know I need to get back to Battlestar Galactica. We started picking up again the 2nd season of Morning Show, which had dropped off for us. Not that it was bad, but just I hadn't watched it. It actually is still very good based on the 2nd season. I just need to get back to it. I know there's a new season of The After Party that's starting up that I'm really excited to get into, because the 1st season of The After Party on Apple TV Plus was amazing. I do want to start
episode didn't grab me.
Seriously,
a few episodes.
I think maybe something happened. I was just like, Anyway,
it's fun.
Kyle has sent me a note. Mysteries. I would like to amend my Mattel movie thing. So Street Sharks. Yeah, I want that. Like, show me a Street Shark show.
Who do you want it to lead? Who would lead with the main shark? Who would be the main shark? I don't even know this property other than the fact that they're Street Sharks.
Ron Perlman.
He's a little old though. Get someone have to youthful.
Whoa.
Do you not know what these things look like?
First off, you hate an ass motherfucker. It could just be his voice. Ron Perlman's voice is still golden, like pure gold. So like, make a CGI giant shark and just have it voiced by Ron Perlman. I'm there.
There's Ripster, Big Slamoo, Streaks, and Bobby Bolton.
I feel like you have to have a Ron Perlman just to get that Sons of Anarchy. Bolton. Yeah.
I never watched Street Sharks. I just remember the commercials for it. By the way, did y'all see that?
Diesel do a Street Shark commercial?
That sounds about right. Yeah, I think so. He did something, I think so. He did some kind of commercial like that, some 90s commercial.
100% Vin Diesel did this Street Shark. I am now looking at like Pitch Black era Vin Diesel holding a Street Shark. Like he's like,
that sounds about right. That checks out. That checks out.
Now we have to have Vin Diesel. So we got Ron Perlman, Vin Diesel.
All right, Ron Perlman, Vin Diesel. Well, Kirsten already threw out Jason Statham, who I think for sure. We need one more. We need one. There's four. Okay. We need to cast one more.
The Rock? I don't know. Would they be, if they're CGI, would they be able to be in the same room together?
No.
The two alpha sharks.
The Rock is the obvious direction. I feel like the other obvious one is John Cena, but I'm trying to think here if we can go outside of the wrestler sphere.
I want Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz, interesting. Okay.
Give me like that Sonic-esque voice. Like in this like, giant jacked shark. But sounds like Sonic the Hedgehog. Give me that.
All right. Done.
I think we're done.
Cast Street Sharks. Yeah, Mattel. We'll take our check now, please.
Got the check.
Yep. Speaking of which,
here we go. So, dear listener, if you like what you heard, do all the socials. Like, rate, comment, subscribe, share. We would definitely appreciate it. Also, LRM and the Genreverse Podcast Network have other great content. Where else on the websites? And, of course, YouTube. But other than that, Kirsten, do you have social media that you would like to share? Should have asked this at the beginning.
I mean, my social media would probably not be of interest to author Kirsten on Instagram if you really like books.
Yeah, it's free chicken. Just throw it out there. Jammer, you're promoting a new book or getting ready to do a thing. Why don't you throw it out? Not really.
Not yet. I'm just throwing it out there because I finished a draft, so it's throwing it out there, looking for beta readers. Well, if you want to check out AJ Sterner Writer Twitter, there you go. And you could find a way to potentially be a beta reader for my new cyberpunk urban fantasy book. It's called Spectral.
Spectral? Yeah. I thought you were struggling with the name. Revamping to remember the name
of the book? I was trying to remember the name of the book. That is true.
Dear God. Is a fact. You've been working on this book for years, dude.
I have nothing to sell. So that's the end of the show. We will catch you next time on the next one. What are we doing? What are we doing this week? Does anybody know? What do we do? We have to tell people. We have to see them. You have to see the people. We have to give them a thing. We have to give them a preview. What are we preview?
Okay.
No, nothing.
Movie releases next.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So I'm never prepared for like the next
week. We don't have time for this.
To be fair, we're gonna have to talk about whether we'll be here, Joe.
It's a good point. That's my good thing. Is that next week?
All right.
That's next week.
I don't know.
Oh, that's next week. Yeah, I'm not going to be here next week because that's a you
Ninja
problem,
Turtles.
Sir.
I think August.
No,
4th.
no, that's August.
Turtles.
That's the following week. That's the next week.
And Haunted Mansion.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Haunted Mansion. Talk to Me and
week?
Sympathy for the Devil. All July 28th.
I literally just saw the Haunted Mansion trailer for the first time yesterday. I did not know.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll have something. We'll have some content for you. I don't know, but for now, hasta lasagna.